Leaking Emissions. We are live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Twitter, X. This is Ronald Stein. You can find more details about him by visiting the Heartland website. Good afternoon, Ronald Stein. It's a pleasure always have you in our podcast.
Armando, great to have conversations with you.
Excellent. Ronald, let me show. Yeah. It seems that California is an important exporter. So you can see computer, electronics, machinery manufacturing, chemical manufacturing, and so on. But now California is also exporting CO2, CH4, and 2O. Is it correct?
That is correct. Our governor is so focused on cleaning up the California air bubble that, we're basically, I'll use the word leaking emissions to other countries. I would, if I was proper, I would like to say outsourcing, but outsourcing is a formal, transparent process where you basically, go out for bids and you find out what their labor laws are, what their environmental labor laws are. But we're not doing that. We just want to clean up in-state emissions at any cost. And the cost is we're basically delegating the manufacturing of the products we're using to other countries that have minimal environmental controls, minimal labor controls, and we exploit people that have yellow, brown, and black skin because there's no labor laws. And the environmental degradation on their land is okay because we can't see it. And the emissions, because they have no environmental laws, basically, is greater. So we're actually cleaning up the California air, but we're increasing worldwide emissions.
This is what happened with the outsourcing process you mentioned with China in the past.
Exactly, because China, India, Russia, they're all using coal. They're all making wind turbines and solar panels for the wealthy countries, and us being one of them. And like I say, they have minimum environmental controls and labor controls compared to us. And so, the emissions are increasing while we're going green.
But do you see that the population, the people in California, do they know about this air bubble and that around them the air is not so clean as in California?
I don't think they're interested to follow up on that. I mean, they're so focused on, the cost of living, especially in California, is very, very high. So there's a lot of pressures to bring down the cost of living. And by outsourcing it, we can get the products cheaper, but there's an expense. The expense is you exploit people and you basically have a lot of emissions. But the good news is we're getting the products cheaper than manufacturing it here. We have so many laws, environmental laws and labor laws here. We could make it here, be a lot cleaner, but it'd be a lot more expensive. So I think the general public is probably more concerned about getting something affordable than looking out for the bigger picture. But the governor should, but he's not.
The legislation to the environment and other issues, type of work and timing, hourly working time. California is different for other states in the United States.
Well, California, there's so many environmental laws and so many labor laws and so many unions and picketing and strikes. We're a big state and we have a lot of people, and we can, anytime we have a strike, there's a lot of exposure.
What other states in the United States are similar to California or close to California in terms of this kind of regulation?
I think we're number one. But I think the temperate states, we can basically manufacture year round. I think the West Coast and East Coast are probably best. Florida, Texas has a lot of regulations. Florida does. But, California, we've got ideal weather conditions to do a lot of manufacturing. And we could do it here, but like I say, the cost of living is high, which is forcing the wage rates to go high, which is raising the cost of everything. And so it's cost ineffective to do it here in California.
Ronald, when California outsource some productions, processes, and systems and energy use, do they control in these countries what is happening there?
Absolutely not. No, there's no control. You're not going to control the Chinese operation. You're not going to control operations in India and Russia. And so, no, we basically I joke that our governor only breathes California air. Nothing outside that bubble. He doesn't breathe any of that. So if worldwide emissions increase, that's okay. He's cleaning up the California air bubble. And we have no control over what the Chinese do.
Child labor. And
Oh, no,
slave,
because,
nothing.
a lot of these lithium and cobalt is being mined by 6-year-olds by hand.
Yeah.
And, there's no health considerations at all. And the environmental degradation is, if they would see it, maybe they would have a different opinion. But right now, it's out of sight, out of mind. Because you remember when Todd Rowe and I wrote that book, Clean Energy Exploitations, it was bringing transparency to all the exotic minerals and metals to go green for, batteries and wind turbines and solar panels. It's all controlled by China. Most of the cobalt's in Africa, a good part of the lithium's in South America, but it's all under Chinese control. And they don't have the same labor laws we have. And so they can get it cheaper.
Yeah.
And so the good news is we get it cheaper. But there's a lot of exploitation of people to do that.
You mentioned mining, but the processing is almost everything is processed in China. So you have different places being mined in Australia, Chile. But when you need to process this to have equipment and systems, everything is done in China. And
exactly.
In China, there is no control, no perception of what's happening there.
No. It's interesting that the green movement is primarily the wealthy countries, the United States, Australia, Germany, the UK. And, the wealthy countries want to go green, but at the expense of the,
Developing countries.
the 8 billion people on this earth, the 6 billion of them, they're living on less than $10 a day. And they're the ones that are allowing us to go green.
Yeah. But Ronald, everything started with Ronald Reagan, a Republican, no?
Yes.
Was governor of
Yes.
California. How Ronald Reagan started this? Because it's contrary to the perception of Republicans, no?
Well, the intent was right, to go green, but there's no conversations. And like I say, if you want to take California, for example, we're probably the most environmentally controlled location in the world. If you want to manufacture anything, you probably want to do it here to have minimum, worldwide emissions. But the bad news is because of the cost, it becomes very costly to do that. We got the Salton Sea, which has potentially a lot of lithium, and if they mine for lithium, they're going to have adhere to the environmental laws, the labor laws, and you're going to get the lithium, but it's going to be very, very, very expensive compared to what you pay for, when you get it from the Chinese. And if you increase the cost of lithium, you're going to increase the cost of the EV, and Armando, you can't afford to increase the cost of EVs.
For which place, which countries or other place that California send used batteries, EV batteries? Do you know? Do you have it?
You mean where the batteries come from?
Yeah, no, where they send used batteries.
Uh, I'm not sure where they're sending them because they're probably doing what Australia does, with their wind turbines, solar panels. They just put them in a toxic waste dump. Now we're talking big batteries, and there's no cost-effective way to recycle them. And that's going to be a real challenge because, the Tesla's got I want to say a small battery. It's 1,000-pound battery. You get up to the 18-wheelers, they're like 16,000-pound batteries. And the bigger the vehicle, the bigger the battery. And it's right now, it's not cost effective to recycle. And if you recycling here in the United States is going to be really, really expensive.
Yeah, true.
And so, you might be able to recycle in a developing country and get something out of it. But I don't see recycling batteries in California. We're such a regulated state. It would be humongously expensive. And then what do you do with the lithium and cobalt?
Yeah.
Send it back to China to make another battery?
That's the question. That's the question. Where? Who is receiving this used material? That's the question.
Right now the EVs are just entering their, let's say, their end of life. I mean, the people that bought the first EVs, they might be trading them in. Now we're going to start seeing, what do you do with these batteries?
Yeah.
I know what people do with a flashlight battery. They take it and they just throw it in the trash can.
Yeah.
But the 1,000-pound battery, Armando, you need 6 neighbors to pick it up.
Yeah. It's impossible to treat this. And so EVs are being discussed much more than in the past. People are seeing controversies in the EVs. And how do you see this trend of discussions about EVs?
Well, the trend is, like I say, the EV owners are the elite people. And I basically say that the elites have bought EVs. The elites will continue to buy EVs. But Armando, I think we're running out of elites to buy the EVs because take a look at the profile. The EV owner is highly educated, sometimes 1 or 2 degrees, high income, multi-car family, and usually a home where they can easily charge their vehicle overnight. Take a look at the average folks that have, internal combustion engines. They're generally not as highly educated, not as highly income earners, not multi-car families, and may not live in a house, live in an apartment. So it's a different profile. And a lot of the average folks, live paycheck to paycheck, and it's going to be a tough road to hoe to jump up into that elevated expense of an EV and with all the inconveniences. They need a workhorse vehicle. And I know a lot of people that have EVs, and it's a second car. Sometimes the thing never comes out of the garage except on a weekend to go to the grocery store and back.
Yeah, I'm very curious about which countries countries are receiving these used batteries. I probably will make a research about this because it's
Okay.
so important. Who is receiving? Who is making this commissioning, doing this commissioning for this material? Because it's a high volume of material. Imagine all EVs being replaced with new cars. In a few years, we will have thousands and thousands of EVs being decommissioned.
Well, yeah, because you have to take a look at right now, there's not enough lithium and cobalt in the world to build these many batteries. And if you can effectively recycle these, how much lithium and cobalt can you recover to
Good question.
reuse or to recycle?
Yeah, good point.
And if it
How,
might be
how much?
yeah,
How much compared with the original lithium and cobalt? How much you can recover? Yeah.
right. Because, if China has to spend a lot of money to recycle it, they say, no, we'll just dig for more lithium and mine for more, cobalt, and we got child labor. It's going to be a lot less expensive to mine for the new stuff than try and recycle the existing batteries. So they might take that position, and I don't see China having any interest in recycling.
I suppose, and the costs to send this material by ships or is expensive. Something not
Oh,
cheap.
yes. It's right because all the, California with the leaking we do of emissions to other countries.
Leaking.
Yeah, there's greater emissions in China and India, but then whenever they make the products, how do they get it back to the United States? By ship, which is, an emission source by itself. So, yeah, it's like I say, the citizens of California don't see that. They're just trying to, prevent from becoming homeless. So they just want to keep paying the rent and, stay in a house or stay in an apartment. And yeah, the cost of living is big pressure on most people.
Yeah, we talked in a previous podcast, you and me, about how Californians think differently from other human beings on the planet.
We're a different planet here in
A
California.
different planet, because it's nonsense. So you live in an air bubble, and just close to you, someone using coal and things like that. It's nonsense.
Yes, because, California, we have a lot of known oil reserves here, but California increased its oil imports. When they had the oil embargo back in the early 70s, California was 95% independent of all foreign countries. Between California production and Alaska production, we accounted for 95% of our crude oil demands. Since that time, we've grown that 5% to more than 60%. We're dependent on foreign countries for more than 60%. And we got 9 international airports. We got 41 military airports. We got 3 of the largest shipping ports in the world. And they're all being run by foreign oil. And I think California's become a national security risk for the entire United States. And same thing is happening with electricity. We're shutting down nuclear power plants and coal and natural gas power plants. So California, if you take a look at the 50 states, we import more electricity than any other state from adjoining states. And we have the demand, they have the supply.
Yeah.
Today, they have the supply that they could send to us. But if they have the demand, they're going to take it before they're going to send it. So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
depending.
it's interesting because it's not only refining, it's production, oil production, oil refining, and petrochemical. So California is living every production.
Well, exactly. Yeah, because the petrochemicals, we're all for, electricity, but wind and solar, we want to go wind and solar, but wind and solar manufacture nothing for society. All they do is generate electricity. And everybody wants to get rid of oil, but oil provides all the products. And if you get rid of oil and you get rid of the products, Armando, you get rid of wind turbines and solar panels because they're all made with the oil derivatives manufactured from crude oil. People don't realize electricity came after oil.
Yeah.
I mean, starting with the light bulb. Light bulb was made with oil. We take nuclear power plants, hydropower, natural gas, coal-fired power plants. All those power plants don't exist without oil because all the parts, the electronics, all the controls, all the insulation, the tires of the equipment to move things around, it's all made from oil. And you get rid of oil and you get rid of electricity.
We could ask Tucker Carlson to talk to us about this matter because he is so famous now. After the interview with Putin, President Putin in Russia.
Yes.
So and sometimes he says things about environment and things like related to EVs. He has some comments about that in his podcasts. It's interesting. And tell me, do you expect as a person that lives in California, that with these elections that are coming, something can happen, can change, or you see that's a different agenda to support this process in California, for instance?
I encourage energy literacy conversations because, I would love to be one of the TV interviewers asking Biden and, Trump questions, because if they want to get rid of oil, the basic question, do you really want to get rid of hospitals and communications, all the electronics that weren't here 200 years ago? And I like to say, there's got to be a conversation. I mean, if they will address that, maybe they got a reason, because, if you get rid of oil, you get rid of ships, jets, everything starts disappearing, because everybody wants to go, clean energy, but it's not clean energy. It's only electricity. And when people have a conversation, they got to talk about electricity and products. Leave the word energy out of it, because you can get electricity from wind and solar. You can also get it from hydro and nuclear, natural gas and coal. And the difference between that electricity is you get continuous uninterruptible electricity from nuclear, hydro, natural gas, and coal. From wind and solar, you get occasional electricity. That's a frustrating thing too, is wind and solar, they don't work most of the time. And you can't run a hospital on that. You can't run the airport on intermittent electricity. We can't have this communication with intermittent electricity.
For sure. And what's the advantage they think that my house is clean, quote, clean, and my neighbors are not clean, are dirty? How can they?
Well, if you take, a step back, like I think most policymakers do, they look at a wind turbine and there's no emissions coming out of that wind turbine. There's no emissions coming out of the solar panels.
Yeah.
But there's two things about it. One, you're getting intermittent electricity, and B, to make that wind turbine, to make that solar panel, you have to basically exploit a lot of people and do a lot of environmental degradation on someone else's property to go green. But again, the confusion is the use of the word energy, because they talk about wind and solar energy is going to replace fossil fuels. But as we talked about before, wind and solar only generate electricity. And unless electricity makes the iPhones and iPads work, but electricity doesn't make a tire, doesn't make insulation, doesn't make an iPad, doesn't make a defibrillator. They make absolutely nothing for society. And if you didn't have oil, there would be nothing to electrify. You'd have no iPhones, iPads, televisions, et cetera, because that is all made from oil. And so, the confusion is the use of the word energy. When people talk, do you want to talk about electricity or you want to talk about products? And if you want to talk products, then, right now, we developed the world from 1 billion to 8 billion in less than 200 years because of all the products that have made life easier to live with. We now have a medical industry that didn't exist 200 years ago. We have communication that didn't exist 200 years ago. Today we can grow food in any country and move it to a different country. We got 50,000 jets and 50,000 merchant ships. These didn't exist 200 years ago. Airports didn't exist 200 years ago. And it's just a different world. And to say electricity is going to save the planet? Armando, give me a break.
So let me propose for you a conclusion, if you agree or not.
Okay.
Outsource production and leakage emissions will not save the world.
You're right. I mean, if you outsource, to me, outsourcing is transparent. And if you want to outsource it, not do it here, we'll do it somewhere else. It's got to be cost effective to what you're doing. Well, it is cost effective. It's a lot cheaper to do it over there. But you also have to take a look at the emissions, the exploitation of people. You have different labor laws. And so, it to get something less expensive is one thing, but to get it at the expense of exploiting people that have yellow, brown, and black skin and no labor laws, then you're getting to the point it's really unethical and immoral to do that. And that's one thing that is not being addressed. That's why I use the word leaking, because I think outsourcing is a very transparent, formal process. I mean, I've been involved in a lot of procurement activities over my career. And yeah, you basically, you're comparing apples to apples. And but right now, the only motivation for leaking is to reduce emissions here. We'll increase it over there. That's okay, but we're going to decrease it right here.
So there are two different concepts: outsourcing and leaking. So
Yes.
it's totally different. Yeah. In the purpose, in the essence of the process. Yeah.
Right, and I think that's the scam that, by leaking, to me, it's a sneaky way of reducing your emissions. On the one hand, Newsom, he's cleaning up California. We're a very, very clean state. But there's a lot of countries that are, they're paying the dues for us to be clean.
That's right. So that's a good question. Leaking emissions, and let's promote a discussion with the governor of California about this, because I would love to see what he could say about this leaking emissions.
Well, again, it would be a conversation because, like I say, it's okay to get, the lithium and cobalt from Chinese controlled operations, around the world. But at what expense? At what cost to humanity? What cost to the environment? And if you don't want to talk about it, then you continue leaking it. To me, that's a unofficial way of basically achieving the goals of the California energy scam. It's like I say, we do have a clean state at the expense of a lot of people around the world.
Yeah, that's right. Ronald Stein, thank you so much. Nice conversation about leaking emissions.
Armando, I wish everybody would have a nice energy literacy conversation like we have.
Like we do every week. Thank you. Thank
That's
you so
right.
much. Have a great day.
Okay, everyone. Have a great day and have a great week.
You too. Bye-bye.